AI, and kind of throwing a twist with some vehicle title scams that we're seeing. First, as always, everybody wants to know what's going on with real estate, with interest rates. Well, if you've been watching this channel, this should not come as much of a surprise to you, but interest rates that seem like they're high right now, 7%, going on 8%, shouldn't be a big surprise because we've talked about this for months that it's going to be even higher. Mortgage rates could hit 8%, economists say. Well, that might seem like a surprise, and a lot of you might think, well, they shouldn't go that high. They're already too high. Well, they're high compared to 2018, but they're not high compared to history. Much of the history of real estate mortgages, primary resident 30-year fixed mortgage, 8% is like the average. That's not even high. Once you get over 10%, that's going to be high. In fact, it's very likely that we'll see right around 10% mortgages starting next year and hovering there for 3 or 4 years. So our prediction, and you can go back and replay this tape a couple years from now, in 2025 to 2027, rates will be in the mid to upper 9% range. And that's where they'll stay for a few years. The National Association of Realtors is predicting 8% mortgages. Now, if anything, they want mortgages to be lower because they're realtors and they want people to be able to buy property. So if anything, they're probably being a little conservative. They don't have a reason that they want rates to be higher. Mortgage rates firmly above 7%. Home ownership has become more expensive, but will rates go higher? 3 experts said that rates could go up to 8%. High rates have already taken a toll. Drop in buyer traffic. Experts stress that the U.S. economy is showing early signs of cooling. How high can rates go? Well, right now they're 7.26, highest level since 2022. That's not too long ago, so let's not get carried away. But it could easily reach as 8%. Mortgage rates could rise significantly if global investors demand higher yields. Well, if inflation keeps going up, they are going to demand higher yields. Why wouldn't they? Right? If they can get T-bills, at 5 or 6%, why would they put money into risky mortgages and not get a higher return? Look, there are CDs right now that you can get in certain parts of the country at 7%. You can put your money into a guaranteed CD as an investor and get 7% on your money. So why are you going to put money into a mortgage if you're an investor or a bank if you can't get more return? Because, mortgages have a pretty low risk profile. But as we saw in 2008, it's not completely risk-free. So if you can get a CD, even if at 6.5 or 7, why are you going to put money into mortgages at a higher rate? 10-year continues to rise. Rates have been far higher in the past. In 1981, mortgage rate went up to 18%. Rate of inflation was 10.3 at that point. What is the rate of inflation now? Well, they say it's 3, but it's really more than that, causing a big change in people's mortgage payments. So what are your options? Well, here's something we've talked about quite a bit. What about building a house? How much does it cost to build a house? Well, if you're looking at real estate and you're having a tough time finding a resale home in the marketplace that fits your needs, you might consider building a new house. In fact, in some parts of the country, it's cheaper to build a new house than it is to buy a resale. Article in the front page of the Dallas News yesterday said in most of the suburbs of Dallas, you could actually build a new house cheaper than you can find a resale similar house. If you search the market, determine there's no existing home, you may start to wonder how much does it cost to build a house? Well, in reality, it's not that much. Range to build a home, this means nothing. That's based on square footage. In most cases, if you do your homework and do it right, you can do a full construction for about $200 a square foot, 150 to 200. So what does that mean? It means a 2,000 square foot house times $200 a foot, you're talking $400,000. even if you figure site work, permits, property, you're under $500,000. Many parts of the country, you can't find a decent 2,000 square foot house in a nice area for under $500,000. You're going to be in the fours anyways. And this is a new house where you don't have to do any maintenance. The roof is brand new, right? It's worth looking at. Now, granted, there's a lot of work that goes into it. You have to manage the process. You have to, fund it a different way, because here's the problem with building a house. You can't get a traditional regular mortgage on a new house because you have to build it from scratch, right? And that's going to be a little bit of a hassle. You're not going to just buy it turnkey. So be aware that the process is going to be a little bit more annoying. But even if you think, I don't want to wait that long because I want a house right now, you may not find a house to buy in the resale market right now. You may have to search around for 6 or 8 months, and building a house may not take you much longer than that. What about builders? Well, this might be a good time to approach a builder because their confidence is tumbling on rising rates. What does that mean? That means that they're not building as many spec homes right now because they're worried about interest rates. So they might have more capacity to build you a new house rather than building spec homes. Think about that. Builders are not wanting to dive into building spec homes. If you are a client coming to them with a floor plan, with building plans, architectural plans, and they know that this is a done deal, they don't have to worry about finding a buyer for the house because you're already a client. So this might be a good time to approach builders. So now we're going to jump into another subject, one of our favorite subjects, which is electric vehicles, EVs. So here's the question. Is EV market going up or down? Well, a couple problems. First of all, public charging is getting worse. One of the biggest obstacles to adoption of electric vehicles by consumers is their worry, whether it's true or not, about being able to charge their vehicle. The concern about, are you going to be able to go on your trip and find a place to charge? Are you going to run out of power? Are you going to be able to make it to work, make it back home, right? And supposedly they're improving the charging network. But is that what consumers are seeing? Well, consumers are saying that the satisfaction with the electric charging experience is suffering. So what does that mean? People don't like it. It's hard to find. They're breaking down more. So that might be more of a headwind against more people buying electric vehicles. What's another headwind? Repairs. The repair costs are more than internal combustion engine vehicles. EVs tend to be designated non-drivable, right? Insurance claim costs to repair electric vehicles are outpacing those. EVs is $1,000 higher in the US for the same kind of crash. Tesla is $1,500 higher. You have to rely on OEM parts. There's not a lot of aftermarket or used parts. And the other problem is that they're more likely to be designated non-drivable, hit from the rear, because some powertrain components are located in the back of the vehicles. Think about most accidents. It's a rear end. Somebody stops short, hits the rear end. Well, guess what? In an internal combustion engine vehicle, your engine's in the front. And it's more robust. It's an internal combustion. Combustion, by definition, means there's explosions in that engine. It has to deal with those impacts thousands of times per minute. You know, your tachometer in your car has RPMs. RPM stands for revolutions per minute. So every revolution, there's pistons doing combustions. You have a 4-cylinder engine, four pistons doing combustion thousands of times a minute. The engine has to handle those combustions. So if you have an accident in a gasoline car, it's used to combustion impacts inside the engine. An electric vehicle has a very delicate electric motor, kind of like your cell phone, very delicate electronics. And that may be impacted, no pun intended, more likely if there is a crash on the vehicle. That means EVs might have even more reasons that people don't want to buy them. All right, we're going to talk about AI and how AI is encroaching on more jobs in a minute. But first, this weird old little story about car titles. Okay, this is a weird story, but this is why car titles are very closely monitored and administrated by the DMV. There's a teenager that tried to defraud a car dealership out of $100,000. How did they do it? I'll spare you the details by reading the story. But here's what they did. They went to this dealership and said, I have this car. It was a late model car. And the car was worth, let's say, $40,000. And they said, I don't have the title because I owe money on it to the bank. I only owe $1,500 though. I'm almost paid off with this car. I owe $1,500 to the bank. So if you buy this car from me, you can take the $40,000 that you were going to give me, subtract the $1,500 that you have to pay to the bank, just pay me the difference. So 40,000 minus 1,500 is like 38,500, right? Let's say. So the dealership said, well, let's verify this. So they contacted the bank, and dealerships know how to do this. They pay off cars all the time with loans on it. And they contacted this bank, and the bank said, yep, the amount owed is 1,500. So they said, all right, fair enough. Thanks for giving us that information. They wrote the guy a check for 38,500, took the car, guy takes off with the money. Well, come to find out, the real amount that was owed on the car was like $40,000. The guy owed a lot of money on it. But what he did was he made a false wire transfer to his car loan for like $38,000 to make it look like he didn't want to pay it off all the way because that would be too suspicious why you don't have the title. So he paid almost all of it off with a wire transfer that these wire transfers take a day or two to go through. Well, he went down to the dealership right after he did it. They called the bank. The bank said, nope, there's only $1,500 owed. But then that wire transfer was reversed out because it was fraud. So now the balance owed went back up to 40,000. So the dealership paid 1,500 to the bank. The bank got it. By the time they got that money, they said, no, this is 40,000 on this loan. So they kicked it back. Now the dealership's out the money they gave the guy because the car has a full loan on it. It's a very sophisticated type scam, but these are the kind of things, the reasons why car titles are very closely monitored. And you know why you have to be careful. If you're not getting a title certificate, here's what one looks like. This is a vehicle title, right? It's a legal document. If you're not getting handed that at the same time you're paying for a car, you're at risk. So now, what's next? Next is AI. Boston Dynamics. This is that company you've seen where they have that kind of weirdo looking, kind of almost like dog type robots that run around and jump over logs and do all kind of stuff. They want to change the world with its state-of-the-art robots. But they're saying, don't worry about potential harm. It'll be good for people instead of displacing them. That's what they say. Okay. It was acquired by Google, sold to SoftBank, provide robots to customers, commercial customers. We're all worried about AI. They're in a trial and error phase, trying to build trust. It's an immature product. There are going to be problems with these early on. So what are your thoughts? I know you have thoughts on this. Their newest robot is used for loading and unloading in a warehouse. Is that going to cost jobs? Sure. It's going to cost jobs. What else is it going to cost jobs? Well, restaurant kitchens, bots preparing your grocery order and guacamole. Food landscape is on track. So if you're in the service business or know somebody that is, robots are going to take over your job. There was an article, we covered it a few weeks ago, where there's a robot as a waiter bringing over food to tables. Even if you are not a service staff, your business might benefit from service staff. Maybe a lot of your customers are in the restaurant industry. If that's the case, you're going to have less customers. So indirectly, this could affect you. This trend has accelerated in recent years. McDonald's sold off assets, shifted to drive-through technology. right? AI can scour and synthesize data from sources to improve things. So you don't need as many managers in a restaurant. Who's benefiting from this? Well, IBM stock is benefiting from AI sooner than later. So you as the worker may not benefit, but IBM stock sure as heck is benefiting. So actual humans are being put at risk more so than other types of um, technology. Again, I know you have thoughts on this. I know you have an opinion on this. We want to hear them. Are people just loving this AI automation thing, or is it worrisome? This is one of the reasons why. I mean, this all related together. The home market is a problem for many people because AI is taking jobs. So really, the only people that can afford a home are people that already have wealth, especially when mortgage rates are 8%. So all these things tie in together. EVs, same thing. The cost to repair EVs is higher than other types of vehicles, right? See how this all ties together? So keep an eye on our channel. We'll talk about these things more. Real estate, where it's going, AI, EVs, other financial threats to your future, your security, your retirement. But remember, we know you have an opinion.